at the beginning, it was the year 2006. We were living in Grand, Michigan, 30 miles north of Grand Rapids. I was working as a bilingual teacher, teaching kindergarten in Spanish. Every morning at 4 a.m., I listened to Chuck Swindoll program Inside for Living. As I kept pounding the thought of sainthood, I was really moved to pursue a deeper spiritual life. In July that year, I visited a father in the Church of San Isidore in Diamond Street. The priest was, I went there to get my oil painting blessed. It was the painting of the Virgin of Guadalupe. He received me in the rectory and we started talking. After around 15 minutes talking, I realized that he was intensely looking into my eyes. When I rolled the eyes up, I just realized that something pulled in the pit of my stomach. And I looked at him and he bended over holding his stomach through. Anyway, after that event, we didn't mention to each other. He just pretended that he was just looking at a detail of the picture, even though that wasn't the context of our conversation. Several weeks passed with him evading me after Mass. I was amazed after several weeks when I heard the voice of this priest saying in the homily that another priest that was talking at that moment should join him in this experience of being united to me in my mind. At the end of the church, the priest that was speaking at that moment came to greet me, look into my eyes, but I didn't feel the same pull, but I didn't say anything. Anyway, later on, I went to a Hispanic fair, and after I attended the fair, I greeted a person there, and the medal of Saint Benedict, which was blessed from Medjugorje, fell into my cleavage. When I checked it out, I pulled it out, the chain was intact and the medal wasn't broken at all. Therefore, it just was something strange. Few days after that event, I hear the voice of the parish priest, the one that bent over when blessing when we were talking, when I took the painting to be blessed. I hear it in my mind, and according to him, in my mind, they say that I was possessed by a demon that ripped both priests' souls into half. One of them, the oldest one, was the spiritual counselor of the parish priest, and he supposedly was an archangel. So, I was gullible and believable. I never took the believability from the priest at the time. If they said so, I believe it. This was kept in the secrecy of the church, in my mind only. I couldn't speak of it to anybody. Well, I still work for until 2008. Okay, but let's go back to the spring of 2007. I was painting the kingdom on a door. The kingdom is the presence of Father Almighty, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. And I was amazed when the upper right corner I saw outlined with dots the parish priest's face, and I said, well, they are holy people, and this must be doings through the Holy Spirit. I put a smirk on that face with my finger, and I didn't care. I just felt moved to give him the door. I did, but I didn't know that he had called my husband to ask about the painting at the door and when he was going to be able to deliver it. So they arranged it after church. What my husband didn't tell me is about this call, and I was made believe in my mind that the parish priest had died. So I said, well, I will donate this painting to the church because it has his face in the corner anyway. And that door is actually placed in the Perpetual Adoration Chapel in Diamond Street in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Anyway, for the time that Lent came around, that I believe that he was dead, because that Friday he told me that he was mentally, that he was going to suffer the crucifixion with Christ. They unite themselves together spiritually to Christ, and they suffered the pain of the crown of thorns, the pain of the joints on the side, dislocated joints of Jesus, the pain of the lance on the side, and the nails of the Lord. So I believe that the priest had passed away that Holy Friday. That is why I gave that door to the church. But to my surprise, guess who was there to receive it? Him. So my husband started speculating that I was sick of my mind. He did that because when I started listening to the voices of the priest, I had to say to my husband, I'm sorry, I cannot have intimacy with you. I love you in a brotherly way. I decided to pursue God, and I am listening to my spiritual counselor in my mind. Of course, he saw that I was going crazy. That type of confession, you don't do it. The people that is pursuing and preparing for supposedly sainthood keep the secrecy of the sainthood formation, because it will endanger the church. That was a no-no, and therefore, after talking, they had to force me to look like a crazy woman. And they managed to do that because they did automatic movements of my hands, like automatic writings, and we communicated by signs, and they played charades, and I was gullible. I saw they were holy people, and in Vatican II booklet, they were talking that each priest or each person in the church have a special task, and the task of the Holy Spirit was assigned to a specific person within the church. I read it, I outlined it, I regrettably gave the book back to the library that they have in the Perpetual Adoration Chapel. So I said, okay, it is a reality. I am not imagining this. But I knew that by speaking of it with an unbeliever or with anybody aloud, I was chastised by making me appear crazy, playing charades and games, telling me one thing that in reality wasn't true. But I believe the information that I was being passed, because I saw, well, he is a holy man and his partner is Archangel Soul. Therefore, I must obey, I must accept the chastisement, and I shall not speak of this. But because they were in prison, according to their tale, inside me by a demon, they had to fight for their freedom. And I experienced the most weird, tactile experiences, which the psychiatrists will call hallucinations. Never I saw something out of my eyes or the mind, but when I closed my eyes, I did see the pictures of shadows of eyes that they said were demons. I felt vibrations in my body. I saw in my mind, with my eyes closed, that there were worms crawling all over my body. All this, when I opened, disappeared, but the feeling of the crawling on the skin was there. And I was amazed. At the beginning, I got scared, always, but then I was amazed. When I felt possessions, they said there were possessions, demons coming into me. I felt disgusting sensations entering my body or touching me in private places. And I prayed, and I was avidly supporting myself by the meditations of the way of the cross and praying the chapel of Divine Mercy. That was in my early experiences with the supposedly schizophrenia. One day my husband said, "You gotta go to Pine Rest." I wasn't crying, I wasn't screaming, I was just talking to him, and but my hands moved, and I developed odd behaviors. I didn't sleep anymore with him because I have an audience in my mind of these two priests that say, "No, you gotta get out of the bedroom, you cannot share the bed with your husband, he has demons," and so far so forth. I said, okay, yes, I found my privacy infringed. Therefore, I decided to follow advice, the mental advice that I was given. Since then, I live in celibacy with my husband since 2008. in one opportunity, the parish priest, was going to have a surgery on his knees. He was going to have an implant. Therefore, because they say you don't talk, you don't say anything, try to stop thinking, well, I am a person that is always into thinking ideas, and I am very creative and things like that. To find myself suddenly with a silent mind that wasn't trained to meditation, it was really impossible. And so they say that I should give him some rest. So I decided to go for a retreat in a rural retreat house, a few miles from Grand Rapids. And over there, it was the first time that I experienced the force, the kinesthetic force of their will and not mine. One thing is to hear voices, and the other thing is to be moved by those voices. My day was spent in judgment in that house, and I was being put to test as a person. They stretched my arms over my head, forces, invisible forces, and like I had them tied together, joined by the wrist, and I started being moved to roll in the bed from one side to another. And they were saying to me, dance, dance for the joy of Jesus, and I found that blasphemous. And I kept saying no, no, no to this until 10 minutes or 15 minutes had been passed on this exercise, me rolling on the bed by forces, not by my own. And I decided, okay, if this has to stop now, I will put my hands, my middle finger and my thumb together, like the ballerina does. But I had my hands together, my wrist together, and I put the fingers like that in both hands. And they stop immediately and say, you are a whore, blasphemer whore, and you don't qualify for sainthood, and so far and so forth. Later on, I was sitting on at the kitchen, little kitchen table that they had in that house, and he said, get your Bible. I got my Bible, and he led me to the page of Revelation 2:12-16. And they revealed to me that I was the church of Pergamon, and then Smyrna, and then Pennsylvania. They said there was a notepad there, and they made me write with automatic writing, this is the name of the priest. And I am telling you, you are the church of Smyrna because you have a demon sitting in your mind and in your soul that has trapped us. And we are fighting to be free by cleansing you of all sins. So they made me confess all the sins and so far, so forth. Well,